Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay, good.
And Elliot K, or whatever, taught me the last time how to do this. So I turned it all on. Let's see what will happen.
Oh, nice.
Oh, what a fun community meeting. Devon is here. Very good. Um, okay, so yeah, maybe we're just like, let's just get started, right? We do have to make sure that we uh, roll the, sorry, that we drum up more folks. But let's see. So I'm sharing my screen. And I guess today what we wanted to do is I did post an agenda, but like let me pull it up again. It's a tweet. Um, and basically what we want to do is like go over some of the examples that we published in the last week or two, and then like preview the features that are going to be released soon, sort of like kind of like looking down the horizon. Um, your stream is still running. You guys saw that, right? Like my screen? Just double checking.
Can you like?
I
Can you try sharing again?
I can see your
Oh yeah,
screen.
yeah. I could see your screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally.
Okay. Cool. Well, so the first thing that I wanted to quickly demo that we put together to essentially like showcase how to create essentially a run book or like a notebook that uses some of OpenAI's APIs is this little example here. So when you like open up, so you can clone into this repo. It lives on GitHub under my personal handle, and it's available under Loon because Luna is my dog, but I call her Loon most of the time. And there's a little button here. You can just click on it, and it should just say, "Hey, open it in VS Code." I'm not going to do that because I already have it open, but it's fairly convenient, and it'll drop you right here. And the actual notebook that uses the APIs is over here, the AI.md. So you can just click on it. Boom, here you go. And the way this will work
Hey
is,
Sebastian, all I see is your Discord screen.
well, that's not
I
cool.
don't actually see a VS Code or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I probably, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I shared an application, not a screen. How about now?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do it again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Technology is hard. So this is about, the notebook that we've put together using Runme that will essentially use OpenAI, um, and without like necessarily like without any sort of custom code, essentially just using vanilla curl, calling out to the APIs, kind of build an integrated showcase, how you can essentially use words to edit an existing photo to your likings, right? And how this will work and all that, I'll show you right now, and also what that will mean because it's a little nebulous. Um, but if you're interested in trying it out yourself, it's on the Sauerkraut/Loon, which is my dog's name, Luna, and you can just click on this handy button here. And if you click open in Visual Studio, we'll just clone into it and open a Visual Studio for you, a Visual Studio Code to be specific. So I've already got this open here, right? And like when you open it, up through that link, what will show up is this here. So all you have to do is hop on over to AI.md and you'll get the whole notebook. And before I run it all, I'm just gonna like kind of like try to explain what the goal of this example is. It's actually fairly easy. It's like, well, that's funny. Why doesn't this work? That's interesting. I totally thought this would work, and of course it doesn't. Well, anyways, the idea is to take this photo that Luna is inside of and mask the background, so like essentially like anything that's surrounding, and put her inside of like a scene where I'm going to use words to describe what I want to see in the scene and let the AI figure out how to render the photo, right? And essentially, like, this is the original photo, just slightly scaled. When I click on it, um, when I click here on mask, this is the version where I cut out Luna and essentially like mask the background that I'm not interested in. This is essentially the way to tell the AI what you want to preserve, and what part of the image you want to fill in, right? And I think in sort of like OpenAI terms, this is called outpainting. So when you go on OpenAI and product, and this is using DALL-E 2, and you scroll down here a little bit, you can like see image generation. This is essentially like generating an image just based on words. And when you click on outpainting, you can kind of see how the girl with the pearl earring, I think that's like the woman with the pearl earring, I think that's what the image is called. How you can essentially like have the whole painting be extended out, right? And this is being done just based on words, right? And you can do the inverse too, where if you wanted to like have a background and then you wanted to have something else painted into it, I don't actually know how this is different. Oh, here we go. Um, yeah, you essentially get this, like object here, right? Which isn't up here, right? Anyways, so the point of this API is, unlike like generative AI for images, you take an existing image and then modify it with words, right? Not like generate a net new photo. And that's what I've done. So what goes into it is essentially like two images. One that's the original photo. The background that you don't want to preserve doesn't actually matter, but it has to be a square. That's just kind of the requirement of the AI model. And you can remove the remaining background. The reason why I've left the green little border around here is twofold. A, it's much more difficult to cut out, right? And there's another AI you can use for that, but I didn't. But the other reason is because I do want Luna to wind up back in the park again, right? And like if you preserve a little bit of the background, since it's like doing this notion of outpainting, it will start with like a green background or like a grass background, right? So no matter what I'll put in the words now, it's highly likely that she winds up back in a meadow or in a park, right, outdoors. If I removed more of the border here and there's no green left, you get a lot more variability in like the scenery, right? You can even say like put her in a spaceship, put her in space, put her in an ocean, right? But I want to make sure that she winds up back in the park. So I hope this works now. Let me just make sure I got the right version running. Yeah, should be. So it's kind of weird that this doesn't work. So fingers crossed. So I put this like little block tier together that essentially will work on both Mac OS and Linux by essentially just ignoring errors, which is maybe not the best way of doing it, but for a showcase, I think that works pretty elegantly. And what it does is just make sure that you have JQ installed in curl. I want to say like most software engineers have those two tools installed anyways. In case you don't have an API key in your environment, it's pretty easy to add it. It's like you click the play button and you copy and paste it in here. I'm hitting the escape button because I have mine sourced in my C shell RC, and I don't want to leak it, so I'm not even gonna like show it. And then what I've done is like I literally copy and pasted this little blob from the website here. If you go on developers overview, I guess I should have done API API generation, and then introduction. You can essentially see the different, like APIs, right? And you get a little curl snippet here, right? You can also change it to Node or Python, but the whole point of this idea using a Runme notebook is so you don't have to write code, right? And you get a little UI and you can visually explore it. So essentially what I've done is like I just copy and pasted this and slightly modified it, right? And like the way I modified it is just I made sure that like it uses my Luna PNG and my Luna mask PNG, right? One of which is the original photo, the other one is the mask. And then like drop in a scene, right, which is like the description of the edits that I want to see inside of this notebook that are being performed to the source image, right, which is this one here. And that's really like all it is. I chose to do you have to do a square output format, and I think there's like only a few different possible resolutions. I think it's like 1024 by 1024, and I intentionally went lower, like 512 times 512, just because the AI is faster that way, and it doesn't really like change the quality of the photo too much. But if you really wanted to have a high quality one, you could like go higher here. And I also think that the API, obviously there's costs associated. If you generate larger images, it will cost you more, right? But pretty simple. It runs a curl. It will drop it into this environment variable called DALI based on the scene description. And then I'm outputting it here. This is basically just so I get the API response and can inspect it. It also has a nice side effect that like it'll be backwards compatible with the CI, not CI, CLI. So you can also run that same example from the CLI in the terminal, but it's not strictly required. So when I run this now, I can say, and the one thing that the API docs will say is like you are supposed to describe the whole photo, not just the modifications that you want to make, right? So in this case, a happy German Shepherd dog, which Luna is, right? Surrounded by, let's just say, sitting in a ball pit. And, it takes about like 30, 40 seconds. It'll just call the curl with all these, like command line flags. And it's just basically a REST API. And boom, here we go. It is kind of interesting that it prints it out that way. It's not quite supposed to do that, but it should work anyways. No, it doesn't. And the demo gods are not particularly like, graceful to me today. But you know what? It's probably because I'm on a pre-release version. So let's do this again because we're doing it live. Let's see if this works. Here we go. It's a pre-release. See, Max, good that we're doing this live. So we probably have to see why this is not working in the Edge release. Anyways, I'll do this again real quick. So I'll run the scene. Doc sitting in a ball pit. We have the edit 20 to 30 seconds here. I'm just going to have a sip of water. Yeah, this is kind of like funky looking, but boom, there it is. Luna sitting in a ball pit. I mean, this doesn't really look all ball pitty here, but like at least you get the toy balls around her, which is fun. And this is the original image, and this is the mask. And all it would really take for anybody if they wanted to use it themselves is to modify the images. Cool. Any questions about that, or anything that anybody's interested in? Sorry, I'm trying to
Type a different thing.
A different what?
Type a different thing.
Oh, type a different thing. Well, why did you tell me what you want me to see typing?
How about a happy German Shepherd overlooking a Norwegian fjord?
Is that how you spell fjord?
Yeah.
I mean, I will warn you that, like, AI models,
I know it's
they
not perfect.
generalize, right? So the more specific you get, the less likely it is to be right.
I wonder if it'll be like looking at a photo of a Norwegian fjord.
I honestly don't understand why this is, like looking that way. But anyways,
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's not so bad, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What the heck is this here?
That's a good question.
Anybody else has some, requests? We can put Luna inside of, any sort of scene. I don't understand why this is not working. Anyways, come on, throw something out. Liz, you have a request? No?
How about surrounded by other German shepherds?
I actually tried that before.
Uh,
By other German. I don't know. I think this is really cool that you can make edits like that. I will say that the whatever background it adds, usually it doesn't look as realistic as the photo. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't look
yeah,
like
it's weird.
Yeah, it's with a lot of like imagination. Um, yeah, this is
There's
weird.
like 100 things I want to try now.
Yeah.
It's very neat.
I think I barely hear you, Liz, but like, did you say something?
Maybe Luna surrounded by flying in the clouds.
In the pub?
By, by something in the clouds,
Clouds
Oh, clouds. Sorry.
flying.
Okay,
flying in the clouds. She said.
let me try that. It's almost like deploying to Vercel. Also takes.
What
I mean, it
happens
doesn't.
if you do a
Mhm.
happy German Shepherd dog at the Wiesn?
I mean, we can try, but I bet a language model is not, like particularly savvy enough to like decode that Wiesn means Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
I also have a feeling something is not right here because like this shouldn't take that long.
It, too many hot dogs that blew it up.
Dog floating in the clouds.
There you go.
I mean, I feel like it's probably not going to work well because like
Because
if
it's
I cut the
green.
background away, it would probably work, but like there's probably no cloud that's green around it. Yeah. So it's just slightly blurry. It's mostly like just a meadow. Let's see. Maybe I changed this presentation. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. I tricked myself. I installed some other renderers, and like I guess the default renderer was overloaded. Um, that makes sense. That also explains why this didn't work at first. So it has nothing to do with the pre-release. Okay, let's do one more, and then we'll move on from this one. Dog. I don't know why, but I like putting pizza, you know, around her pizza slices.
What does it do with specific places? Like I was thinking at the Salesforce rooftop park in the city. Like that's green stuff.
I think that like AI models probably like abstractly understand those things. Not sure if they do it specifically. And if so, you probably have to pick a very prominent place, like maybe like Eiffel Tower or something, right?
What's that park with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background down there on the waterfront?
Presidio? No.
Is that Presidio?
Let's try uh, in front of Statue of Lib. Is that how you spell liberty? It's not like one of those words that I spell a whole lot. Liberty. Let's just try.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking Chrissy Field.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if that is like, has that level of prominence, like, the Eiffel Tower or like the Statue of Liberty. Okay.
There's that pizza.
I mean, almost, right? But, I mean, anyways, I mean, this is like actually a very simple way of like, you don't have to write any codes. I mean, image editing is image editing. I did this with like Apple's preview, so it's not like you have to have like Photoshop or Figma or like any of those expensive or like, subscription things. The one thing I wanted to try out is over here. Okay, it uses the built-in one. Interesting. Okay. Well, so I think this is a pretty neat example, and like, it really doesn't use much more than like vanilla, shell. And the only thing that's really different about it is, oh, interesting, is that the annotation here is like set to JSON, and like in this case, the cell is set to image PNG, right? So that's why you can basically just redirect the raw output. If you did that in a terminal, I can probably do it, but it'll probably break. Yeah, you'll just get unprintable characters, right? Because it like just dumps the binary into it. But the one thing that you can do is if you do runme dash dash file name ai.md, you could just run it from here too, run scene. It doesn't prompt you, but it's sort of like interoperable with the CLI. Let's maybe do that real quick before I move on to the other example. Here we go, and it just basically prints out that blob, and we could even like nicely format it, but it takes up a lot of space, so I just that way, boom, there's Loon. Oh man, she would love that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There would be no way she would sit like that still in front of like 7 hot dogs. Anyways, I had a lot of fun using this. Probably too much fun. So yeah, try it out. And it's really easy for the most part. All you really need is like an API key. The second example that we kind of put out on Twitter, I think like yesterday, on Monday, is a little bit more practical. So one of the things that we do at Stateful is we have like a notebooks repo, and I was actually like working on migrating some of the other notebooks that I have built that like I guess I built for myself, but I want to check into a Git repo and share with other people. This is a good place for this to go. Most of those notebooks that are in here we used in the past to like do some sort of data analysis, and most of them what do you call it, Jupyter notebooks. But the problem with Jupyter notebooks is like they're great, but they're like pretty heavy because they require a Python environment and a lot of sort of like dependencies that like if you're comfortable with it, it is a fantastic tool and a very powerful tool, but it's not particularly lean, right? And like what makes Runme great is like you don't need much more than like probably like things that you're probably already using. In my case, we have all of our stuff running in GCP, in Google Cloud platform, and we do use Google BigQuery, which is like, I guess you could call it like a SQL that can operate on like any sort of like data sets. So you can like dump data into BigQuery in a tabular format, and you can give it a schema, and then you can just write SQL queries against it. I should probably just show people what I mean. And let's go, because we're doing it live, we may as well go to production, right? Just need to make sure that we're not clicking the wrong button. And what we've done in the past is like you have this sort of like query interface here, and you can essentially like run SQL, right? And there's a way to like look at tables and all the stuff that you have in here, and you just write a SQL statement and you can run it, and boom, you get the output down here, right? And you can like format it in JSON or have a little table that you can sort, which is like a really powerful tool. And like some of that data comes out of logs, so you can kind of like siphon off data from your production logs and aggregate them and then query them, which is like great if you want to figure out if something is going slow or like how much something is being used. Anything really, like there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. I know like folks that basically use this as their sort of like intelligence, the analytics database. The one downside that it has, just like with a lot of those cloud native features, right, whether it's AWS or GCP, is like, you do a bunch of stuff and then you tuck it away and you hit click the save button, and and you forget about it, right? I mean, like it's kind of like tucked away in here. You can like click the share button, but like you always kind of have to go back to this Google Cloud Console, right? And like I kind of call it a walled garden, right? Because it's like it's got a lot of stuff in here, but you always have to kind of go there and look for it and find it. And it's not version controlled, and it's just not available at my fingertips, right? So what's actually like convenient is you can also run these queries from the command line. There's this tool called BQ that is essentially like short for BigQuery, and it's basically just a command line client to BigQuery, and it looks a little scary and all that because like there's a lot of options that you can put in, but like oftentimes you don't really need that. All you really need to all you really want is like you have a query, and the query in and of itself points at like the table and the project. So you obviously need to know that, but you can like draft this query inside of GCP and just copy and paste it into a file, call it .sql, and be done with it. And then what you do, or like what you can do, you can just run it from Runme. So when I run it here, it will actually query the data inside of the cloud, right? And like it does that based on Google's Cloud SDK, which you're probably already using. If you're like a Google Cloud user, you use that as much as the AWS CLI, right? It's like the thing that like essentially lets you do anything, interact with anything that like GCP provides as an API through the CLI, through the terminal, right? But like if you do that, and we can showcase this here. If I run this button here, it will run it in the CLI, and I still get. And by the way, there's a rendering error that they need to fix in VS Code. They introduced the last version, which is slightly unfortunate. So I'll just do this. It'll just output it like in the terminal, right? And like, yeah, great. I can look at it. It's kind of ugly. It's CSV. I can get a JSON representation of it if I just copy the query here. Let me just do this just to exemplify. I can say like, give me JSON. I guess that didn't work. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I guess I don't know why this doesn't work. Maybe JSON, you can't get the JSON format, but I might be getting the command line flag wrong. But anyways, it's not great to look at, right? Even if it's JSON, it's going to have a whole lot of like, curly braces and all that. But in Runme, what you can do is like you can install custom renderers, right? And what that will let you do is you get like a sortable table, right? So you like run the commands on the input cell, and on the output cell, you get a table structure like this, and I can sort it really easily. I can modify my query down here. I can say like, oh, maybe I'm interested in a different segment of this event here, right? It's like basically the whole event just is a slash separated, like sort of like a path, right? It looks like a directory. And, it's really easy to just modify my query and I can just rerun it. And that's not the end of it. You can also just click on here, and I happen to use this third-party renderer from Random Fractals, which is like a guy that works on really cool data visualization inside of VS Code, these renderers. And this is not a good data source for this, but if you have like some sort of time series data or anything that like is a little bit more, has a lot of not variables, dimensions that have like a vast what do you call it, like distribution. So you can like kind of use statistical analysis to like make more sense of it, right? Like in this case, it's like it's a data count and an event, right? So it doesn't really make sense to look at it like statistically. Um, but it also happens to have this cool data visualization here, which lets me still do sorting, but I can also filter. I can say like, hey, give me all the elements that are under, I don't know, 19, right? And this is all kind of built in, right? And like, I don't have to do anything other than just click the play button and run the query. Based on the fact that it's CSV, the renderer will just auto format it for me, right? And I think this is really cool because what I can now do is I can just check this in, version control it, and share it with anybody on the team, right? And they just get the exact same thing. And you just put the extensions into your VS Code and say like, those are the two you need. And obviously you have to like log in, you have to authenticate, but like Google does that for you, your SDK. You do gcloud auth login. We don't need that monstrosity here. That's just for when you log in without a browser involved. I don't know what. Oh yeah, I guess it wants to autocomplete it that way. But like authentication is already handled. It's basically using the same thing that you would be using in a terminal, but you get something that's much nicer than just a character interface, right? Like a terminal interface. Um, any questions about that?
What are you going to build next?
I don't know. Maybe it would be kind of cool to, create some stuff and have like a graph, right? And I'm sure there are renderers for it. I haven't like really looked at them all, but in fact, when you go on here, you can just say notebook, and yeah, there's like tons of stuff that the community has built, right? Like a lot of that was built originally with Jupyter in mind, but the way it really works is like it just keys on the MIME type, right? So if it's PNG or if it's a binary, if it's audio, video, you can probably for audio files have like a nice little playback thing that lets you like skip ahead with a slider. There, you can possibly put anything in here. What I am going to build, I don't know what I'm going to build. I mean, I already built this.
What about a real time for something, like the same table that you were displaying before that connected to a real time database or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
That would
mean,
be pretty cool.
you could conceivably use something like Grafana, right? I think there's probably a command line client you can create Grafana with and just pipe it. I mean, this is really just using standard out. The question is then, do you want to build a custom dashboard inside of Grafana or like whatever the thing is called now? Is it Graphite, Grafana? No, it's Grafana in their dashboard, right? But like, I kind of like this idea of these things being like, version controlled and co-located in a repo, and you can go through a PR when you make changes, right, and all that sort of stuff. So I haven't tried that, but conceivably anything that like outputs semi-structured data, you could like format that way. So maybe that's your next project, Ivan. Figuring out how to do that, not just playing Tetris inside of the notebook terminal. Um, cool. Well, maybe we'll move on and look at the next thing. Let's do that. All right, so those are kind of like little examples, and of course, we want to continue to build more. Especially like we have a few fun ones that we're going to share. Right, we're going to like tweet about them, including like Devan's example to play Tetris inside of like a notebook terminal. We did talk about the notebook terminal before. That's released. So if you're currently on, I think I'm on the 1.1 release, you should be able to use that. We're also working on some improvements. I guess I never actually switched to the 1.1 version because I didn't reload. I think. Let's try that. So I like to be, I like living on the edge. Let's see, 1.1. Okay, let's go back to the pre-release because I'm going to show something that's not released yet. So what's coming in the next release, which I'm really excited about, is essentially, let me open this one. Open with text editor. Is essentially this here. I think in VS Code, this notion of a UI is called a code lens, and you've probably seen this before. If if you have something installed like Git lens, you get actually not on this one, but I think on function definitions. Let's go into maybe code lens even. Yeah, see on top. This is basically the same idea. So like, it essentially lets you, display metadata or meta actions on any sort of like artifact or like, I guess, snippet of code, right? And what we've done is like we essentially implemented our own code lens. Max did this, which is really cool. And now you can actually run code blocks outside of a notebook. So when you click on this here, it will just execute this code block inside of the notebook kernel without, well, like, I guess the notebook kernel is maybe not the right word here, the Runme kernel, without necessarily having the notebook UI up. So you get the benefit of like, you can just run this here. And if this were to, modify it, like export something, right? Like export dad joke, right? Because it's a dad joke. And you ran this, it would still prompt you for like, the input, right? And this is now being sourced into the environment. So I could hop over here and say like, let me continue in the notebook and then do something like, I hope this will work now. Otherwise I'm going to look really silly. Yay, it says joke. So, it's kind of interoperable in the way that like you can have the notebook UI, you can have your raw markdown UI, you can easily open a notebook UI, or if you like none of that, you can also use the terminal UI. So you can go, let's say, run me file name joke.md. Yay. Well, it actually didn't work. Well, the reason why is because I have to, provide the session ID with it, because currently we don't have a session strategy that will let you do that. But you could run it from here and then do run me. So yeah, it's a detail that we're still working on, which is like, if you open a terminal out of band, not through the CLI button, we're not passing in sort of the session metadata that identifies the existing session, so that you can interoperably work on the essentially like source anything into your environment, and it will mutate it, right? But it's definitely something we could do. And I built this for Adam because he likes dad jokes. But yeah, I don't know how excited you are about this, but I think this is really cool. Because there's like a lot of one-off things that you probably just want to do in a moment, and opening up the notebook, like clicking on here, or like finding it and then finding the right cell is kind of like a lot of work. So I don't think it's going to replace the notebook UI, but I think it's just going to make it so that like Runme is even easier to use than before. Yeah, wow, I get the flame here. Any questions about that? And yeah, like the one caveat is like it will not work on Windows, unfortunately, because we do not support PowerShell. It will work on the Windows subsystem for Linux, but not on vanilla Windows on PowerShell.
But if anybody is passionate about having it work with PowerShell, we would like to hear about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come find us. Let's talk about it. We'll actually, we're currently working on a little notification that when you are on Windows and you're not on the subsystem for Linux, that we actually survey you. So it will say like, this doesn't work yet. Do you want to request access, right, for PowerShell? And, just to kind of get a better sense and make it easier for anybody out there to like, show interest in that feature. I don't know, I could be clicking this all day long. I really enjoy this a lot, but I don't want to bore everybody. So yeah, any
Very
other
cool.
questions, things, anything that we want to talk about? Cool. Well, I hope this recorded, because I'm doing this for the first time, so I may have totally, not recorded myself, but I'll find out in a moment. But I think in the interest of, I think we've gotten through most of the stuff that I wanted to cover. I think we'll just wrap it up early then. Cool.
Sounds good. Great job. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, and now I need to figure out why Luna didn't show up, but I'm pretty sure it's because I used some of those notebook renderers and they overloaded the existing notebook renderers, but I'm going to test that now. Cool. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you.
Hey, by the way, Sebastian,
Yeah.
before you go, I have a PR which fixes images because what was happening was we replace new line with /r/n, and you do an image and it ruins the image. So I just fixed that. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
PR.
because like for a moment I was like, oh, I wonder if it's because like
Yeah.
we're tampering with the bytes stream, right? Yeah, well,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So I
we
just
better catch it here before we release it. So,
that was an effective use of pre-release, definitely.
I know. It's like the community hour fix, or like the fix of the day.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
anyway, just basically, so check that out when you have a moment. I know you're busy, but
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of like the last meeting of the day, so I'll take a look, and I already know what you're talking about because I reviewed the code this morning and obviously didn't think about it. But I'll take a look and I'll probably approve it immediately. Cool.
Cool. All right. See ya.
See ya.